name is Dr. Nadia Ali, and today we will be discussing an important topic. The topic for today is good fats versus bad fats. So, one of the reasons why we wanted to look at this topic is because fats have gotten a bad name. And there's a lot of discussion about the link between fats and bad cholesterol and fats and heart disease. However, this is not the complete picture. And so today we will talk about good fats and bad fats. So, one of the most important things to understand is that fats are an essential nutrient, which means that this is something which we need for the sustenance and survival. They are needed for making essential fatty acids. And so we need fats. However, we need fats which would help support our body. We don't need fats that would destroy our organ system. So we will be talking about what are the different types of fats, such as saturated fat, unsaturated fats. We will talk about good saturated fats and bad saturated fats. We'll talk about good unsaturated fats and bad unsaturated fats. We will also discuss oils that can be used for cooking, oils that can be used for salads. We will be talking about the smoking point of oils and why that is important to know and understand. And then we will talk about how we can minimize using bad fats. So let's get started. So the first thing is to understand what is the role of dietary fats. So dietary fats are essential sources of energy for us. We also understand that fats, in addition to being used for energy purposes, are also needed for protecting our organs. So all our essential organs, such as heart, liver, kidneys, are covered by a layer of fat to protect them. We also know that fats are very important for cell growth. The cell membrane, which covers the cells, is actually made up of fat. And it plays a very important role because the different receptors for the hormones and the nutrients and the electrolytes are present on those membranes. In the brain, the membranes serve a very important purpose, and that purpose is communication between cells. So communication between neurons or nerve cells requires that the membrane function really well. We also know that a lot of our hormones are made up of fat. And so if we do not have fat, we cannot make those hormones. And so we understand that fats play a very important role in our body. So the next thing that we will talk about is what are the different types of fats, right? So when we think about fats, unfortunately, we think of hamburgers or we think about cheese and potato chips and items that are rich in fat, such as steaks. However, fats come in many different forms. And so it's not about eating too much fat or too less fat that is the problem. It is the quality of fat that is being consumed that is more important. So let's talk about the different types of fat so that we can actually make the good choices. So there are two types of fats. There are saturated fats and there are unsaturated fats. In simple terms, if a fat is solid at room temperature, it is saturated. And if a fat is liquid at room temperature, then it is termed as unsaturated fat. There are different examples of saturated fats, such as butter, lard, ghee are examples of saturated fats. And examples of unsaturated fats are vegetable oils, fish, and nuts. So now we will talk more about the different forms of saturated fats and which ones are good and which ones are not necessarily good. So if we look at saturated fats, the saturated fats that come from animal sources, such as animal fats and dairy products, are forms of saturated fats that are inflammatory in nature. So it is very important to limit their consumption. An exception to that rule is ghee. Ghee is a form of saturated fat which is rich in vitamin A, vitamin E, and vitamin K. It is important to make sure that ghee is actually coming from grass fed cows. Ghee also contains butyric acid, which has anti inflammatory properties and anti cancer properties, and it is also very good for the digestive tract. The only limitation when it comes to ghee is to understand that it is very calorie dense. So 100 ml of ghee will give us about 883 calories of energy. This is the reason why, if you are watching the amount of calories you consume, you may want to limit your consumption of ghee. Plant-based saturated fats, such as coconut oil, is actually a healthy form of saturated fat. It also has antimicrobial properties and antioxidant properties. It has also been shown to be very good for the skin. Now we're going to move on to the topic of why saturated fats are bad. Saturated fats that are from animal sources and dairy products are bad saturated fats. And those can cause an increase in cholesterol, including bad cholesterol, also known as LDL. It can also increase the risk of heart disease, stroke, and weight gain. So, when you are consuming saturated fats, you want to try and use saturated fats which are either coming from plant sources, or you can look into ghee as a possible option. The next question that we will deal with is, are unsaturated fats good or bad? And the answer is that they can be good and they can be bad. So remember that the unsaturated fats coming from nuts and fish are actually very good. As far as the oils are concerned, there are certain oils which are considered good and certain oils are not considered good. And so we will be talking about what are the unhealthy forms of vegetable oils first, and then we will talk about the healthy options. So, the examples of unhealthy vegetable oils are corn oil, soy oil, canola oil, and cottonseed oil. And the question is that, why are these considered bad? So the reason why they are considered unhealthy is the following. The first and most important thing to understand is that these oils are highly refined. And refinement means that chemicals have been added to be able to produce these oils. These oils contain polyunsaturated fatty acids. So polyunsaturated fatty acids are actually healthy, but when we refine them in the process of converting them into oils, that makes these oils so bad because the polyunsaturated fatty acids are highly unstable. And when they're exposed to chemicals in the refining process, they are stripped of the antioxidants, vitamins, and minerals, and they become inflammatory. And hence, they have been linked to inflammation as well as diseases associated with inflammation, such as heart disease, diabetes, cholesterol, autoimmune disease, etc. On the other hand, healthy vegetable oils are actually good in many different ways. And we'll talk about that. So, these are two examples of really good, healthy vegetable oils. So, as we all know, that extra virgin olive oil is part of the Mediterranean diet, and it has a lot of vitamin A, E. It also has a lot of antioxidants. It has a lot of monosaturated fats called oleic acid. And oleic acid has been found to have anti cancer properties and anti inflammatory properties. So we know that olive oil is known to actually reduce the bad cholesterol. And it has also been found that it contains heart healthy compounds, which can play a role in preventing conditions like obesity, metabolic syndrome, and type 2 diabetes. It is important that when we get extra virgin olive oil, we want to make sure that it is organic. We want to make sure that it is in a glass bottle that is black in color. And we want to make sure that it is coming from a single source. It should have a batch number so that we can track as to where it actually is coming from. So all of those characteristics will help us make the right choice of olive oil. Avocado oil is another good vegetable oil to look at when it comes to cooking, and we will talk more about that um, in our slides. What are the benefits of healthy vegetable oils? We know that these healthy vegetable oils have known to reduce cholesterol level, they reduce our risk for heart disease and stroke. And the way they do that is by reducing inflammation and containing antioxidants. So it is very important to consider the smoking point of an oil or fat, especially if we are thinking about heating the oil, such as in the process of cooking. Okay, the reason why it is important to understand the smoke point of an oil or fat is that when an oil or fat reaches its smoke point, it actually releases volatile compounds. And these volatile compounds are very harmful compounds because they can cause inflammation and oxidative stress by making lipid peroxides. And these compounds can lead to lung cancer, bladder cancer, as well as other health issues. So, for example, there is a concern about whether extra virgin olive oil can be used for cooking or not. And the answer is it can be used for cooking because the smoke point of extra virgin olive oil is 350 to 410 degree Fahrenheit. So as long as you're not doing high heat cooking, you can use olive oil for low to medium heat cooking. So it is very important that if you're going to use an oil for cooking, you need to know its smoking point. You want to stay below that. So moving on to the oils that can be used for salads. So extra virgin olive oil can also be used for salad. In addition, the other oils that can be used for salads are flaxseed oil and hemp seed oil. So flaxseed oil is exceptionally high in beneficial omega-3s. And because it has a very low smoke point, it's not a good oil to cook with, okay? Hemp seed oil can also be used for salads. It also has omega-3s, and its smoke point is around 165 degrees, so it's not suitable for high heat cooking. So these are some of the oils that can be used for salads. As far as cooking is concerned, we have extra virgin olive oil. The other one is avocado oil, which can also be used for cooking. Even at high heat, it reduces cholesterol, improves heart health by increasing the good cholesterol or HDL. It is high in lutein, which is an antioxidant that has benefit for the eyes. It also has benefits for people who have arthritis or inflammation of the joints. It is known to improve the skin as well as enhance wound healing. We also know that avocado oil contains a lot of antioxidants, uh, including vitamin E, and those are also beneficial to health. The other oil which can be used for cooking is sesame oil. It's often used in Asian cooking. It's often used in high heat cooking. It basically has a medium high smoke point of approximately 410 Fahrenheit. Sesame oil is also considered heart healthy because it has antioxidants. It is also considered neuroprotective. It's also and is effective against certain diseases like Parkinson's disease. One small study of people with type 2 diabetes found that using sesame oil for 90 days significantly improved fasting blood sugar, as well as long term biomarkers of blood sugar. So, this is something to be considered if you are somebody who has blood sugar issues. Sesame oil might be a good choice for you. The next thing we're going to talk about is ways to start eating, good fats, really. And so we'll be talking about a few ways we can do that. So the first thing to do is to use healthy oils. So try to avoid butter. Butter is a solid fat, saturated fat. And as we have said before, that animal sources of saturated fats are inflammatory. So instead of using that, you can either use ghee, you can use coconut oil, or you can use the healthy oils that we talked about, such as olive oil and avocado oil. The second really good source of healthy fats is fish. And we know that one of the most important component of good fat is omega-3. And salmon is a good source of it. So you want to make sure that you have adequate omega-3s. Omega-3s are very important. They reduce blood pressure. They reduce a very important form of cholesterol, which is called triglycerides. They also have been shown to slow the development of plaques in the arteries, which create the blockages. And they have also been shown to reduce the chance of abnormal heart rhythms. So those who have heart disease or abnormal rhythm of the heart would benefit from having more fish in their diet, having more omega-3s. We know omega-3s also reduce the likelihood of heart attack and stroke. They've also been shown to reduce the chance of sudden cardiac death in people who have heart disease. So, definitely something to look into. You have to understand that not all fishes are good in omega 3s or are rich in omega 3s. You also want to make sure that you get wild fish. You also want to make sure that it is not in a can because there are toxins associated with that. You also want to make sure that the fish does not have a lot of mercury in it. So, all of those things have to be considered when you are trying to eat fish. The next thing what you can do is to choose lean meat and skinless poultry. And that way you could reduce your risk of consuming saturated fats from animal sources. Now, one thing that we have to understand is bad fats or trans fats. So, trans fats are basically fats which are partially hydrogenated vegetable oils. Now, basically, these are fats which are very detrimental to our bodies. So, we know that trans fats basically are created as a result of processing of food. So, for example, the commercially baked goods, such as cakes, cookies, and pies, basically contain trans fat. Similarly, you can find trans fat in, the microwavable popcorn, frozen pizzas, refrigerated doughs, such as those used for biscuits and rolls, French fried foods like French fries, donuts, and fried chicken. Trans fats are also found in non-dairy coffee creamers, also found in stick margarine. So it is good to actually avoid having those foods which are high in trans fat, primarily processed foods. So a simple rule would be if you avoid anything in a box or a bag, then you are going to be avoiding trans fat. And then the last but not least thing that you can do to avoid trans fat, in addition to limiting processed food, is to read the labels. It is very important to read labels and to look at what is it that you are actually consuming. Usually, if you don't eat processed food, you will not have to read labels. But if you are going to buy an item which is in a box or a bag, it's extremely important that you look at whether the product that you are buying has partially hydrogenated oils or not, or what type of oil has been used to make that product. It is also important that when you are dining out, you try and avoid deep fried foods because some restaurants use partially hydrogenated oils in their fryers. So it is important to keep those things in mind when you are trying to make healthy choices. And I think this is a question that we get all the time, what percentage of saturated fat I should use, what percentage of unsaturated fat should I be consuming? And the answer to that question is that, it depends. Because there are a lot of things which you have to consider when you are deciding on what percentage of saturated fats and what percentage of unsaturated fats should be in the diet of a person. And that includes, what kind of lipid panel you have. So lipid panel is basically a panel of blood work that we do to understand, how much of LDL or bad cholesterol you have, how much of HDL or good cholesterol you have, what's going on with your triglyceride. You also have to look at, what is the degree of inflammation that you have. You also have to look at what does your blood sugar numbers look like. You also have to look at what is going on with your overall calorie needs. You also have to look at, what are the issues that you are having. You also have to look at the digestive capacity of an individual. Which is very important because if an individual is not able to absorb a lot of fats, then you really have to look at how you're going to make sure that they have adequate fats without creating a problem. And so there are a lot of things that which have to be taken into account before you make the decision in terms of the type of fats and the quantity of fats that you want an individual to use. And so the best way out of that situation would be to discuss with your functional physician your specific needs and go from there. If you like the video, go ahead and click on the like button. And if you have any other questions or concerns, feel free to reach out to us. Contact details are going to be in the video description. Subscribe to the channel if you would like to know more about how you can keep yourself healthy and make the right choices for your health. Thank you. Bye.